Hey guys, it's Fast back with another video, and honestly, I am so sorry guys for literally taking the biggest break ever, and I honestly need to stop. I actually need to stop saying, oh, I'm gonna post more, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I honestly find that whenever I speak it into the universe, it for some reason just stops. It keeps me from actually doing it. So I apologize for that. It has been quite a few months since I've last posted, and I do actually have a video in the works. Okay, it is from February. So it's was still quite a few months because it is June 1st, 2025. And the reason why I am gonna say what date it is because I need to keep myself accountable and really post more. But that being said, thank you for still watching. You know, life has been kind of crazy. There's been a lot of stuff that's happened over the last 6 months that, there's been a lot of life changes and all good. But now I'm really getting back into reading again and really just want to do what I love, which is to post reviews about my books and kind of just talk about them because I don't got anybody else to talk to. So yeah. So that being said, I do have this one book that I finished reading not too long ago, and I thought it was literally the cutest YA book I've ever read. Now, I'm not the greatest, YA is not my biggest genre, I should say, or actually, I shouldn't even say that because I have read a lot of YA books, but in this case, these books are actually high schoolers and not college students. And the book that I am referring to is All Last Summer by Stephanie J. Scott. And honestly, I don't know what made me want to buy this book or even read this book. I don't know. I was looking on Kindle, and yes, it's on my Kindle. And I was looking at, I think, either free books or very cheap books on Kindle. And this one came up and I was like, you know what? I actually think it's kind of cute to, read something that's kind of really light and fluffy and doesn't always have to be in the college or dark romance or steamy books. As much as I love reading those books, I'm like, it doesn't always have to be that. And so I was like, let me just read something that's a little bit more light and fluffy and just a good story. And I actually really love this book. Now, when I knew that I really liked All Last Summer was when I was reading a different book that is more, how do I say this? So, like I said, I don't really like reading stories about high schoolers. And I think it's just because it has to be done in an appropriate way. And there's some other books that I've read with high schoolers that have just not been appropriate at all. Now, the With Me series, which pretty sure I've mentioned in the past, that one I loved. It was it was a high school story and I absolutely loved it. And I will talk about it on a different video. I'll get into it in a different video. But I compare All Last Summer to that series because it was very appropriate. When I was reading a different book, it's on here on my Kindle, but I don't care enough to find the name to it. It just did not pull me in the way it should have. And then I switched gears and was like, okay, you know what? Let me go and start reading All Last Summer. Let's just see if it's any good. I read the first chapter or two and I'm already more hooked into this book than I thought I ever would be, and more than the other one. So I stopped reading the other one. Not exactly sure if it's going to be a DNF, but that other one is just, at the moment, I'm not reading it. And All Last Summer was actually such a good high school book. So it's about Lila, okay? And I would say that this book is more of a coming of age and just taking accountability and more responsibility for your actions. Now, Lila, in my opinion, has done nothing wrong in the series. So it opens up with her talking about this trip that she's supposed to be doing with her boyfriend Matt And it's they're supposed to go to Brazil for like an exchange program, summer abroad course, whatever. So she's supposed to do that, but she backs out at the last minute because she actually finds out that her boyfriend has been cheating on her and is seeing a different girl, and he plans to take her on the trip instead or along with them. So she backs out of the trip, but since she backed out of the trip, she owes her parents a lot of money for this course. And they're not allowing her to, let her summer go by without, taking responsibility, without getting a job or without going to school. They are like, you're not sitting around the house, feeling sorry for yourself about this ex-boyfriend of yours. Like, that's not what we're going to do. So she has to find a job in order to pay back her parents. Okay, now the thing about Lila, and why I say this is kind of like a coming of age, is because she's really, really smart and nobody knows it. Okay, she's kind of popular. Matt, who's her ex, was also popular. And might I add that she does a really good breakup, and it's in the first chapter. It's like, oh, you can tell this girl is not playing. And that's when her personality starts coming out more and more, because she puts on this persona about being like the popular girl, or, being like the quote unquote like perfect boyfriend, perfect girlfriend to her boyfriend, that she's like, I need to just stop. Like, this is not who I am, right? And she's actually like really smart. She comes from an army family. So both of her parents were in the army, and now they got out, and they own a construction business. Okay, but the business is kind of like, I don't know, not doing as well as Lila thinks is doing. So she really needs to step up and get a job to help pay her parents back. Now, because she's moved around a lot because of that, army background, she thought, okay, since we're gonna stay here for a bit longer, like they're setting roots there, she's like, let me actually try to make some real friends. And, I'm not gonna screw this up by, showing them how nerdy I am and how I was in the robotics club and how I'm actually really smart. She's like, no, let me just be the perfect girlfriend to the popular guy. And let me just have, my perfect popular friends that invites me to parties and sleepovers and just like all the fun stuff. So that's kind of what she thought her summer was going to be like. But no, her summer ended up being her having to work. So this is where it gets interesting. The place that she does end up finding work at is this like putting green place. It's like it's kind of like a mini golf place or like a golfing store / range. But the people who actually work there are Matt's buddies. Okay, Matt did work there, but since he's on his vacation, going to Brazil, he's not working there during the summer. So she ends up taking kind of his job there. His buddies are like not having it. Okay, they don't like her and they don't want her working there either. So they kind of try to make her life a little difficult until she becomes a bit closer to some of the guys there, right? So Aiden is the, I want to say like the main guy out of the out of the trio. I can't remember what the other two guys' names were, but in my opinion, they seemed worse, kind of more rude than the other two, than Aiden, who's the main guy. But nevertheless, it's all about her trying to work there, and her friend is just, confused as to why she is working at the same place that her ex was working at and that where his friends are. But it ends up being actually a really cute story about her just, going to work every day and, pushing through it and, just trying to make the best of it. Now, the also fun part at the workplace is that she starts getting along with some of the other like coworkers, some of the older people, and then, some of the people her age, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But there is something that's happening at the company, and they're having like this competition where it's like every year somebody has to, like, whoever wants to enter can give an idea about how to, what is something of the company that needs to be improved. Okay. And then you get like a reward for it. So that's kind of like the main rivalry that happens between Lila and Aiden, is that they're both going for this contest because there is a cash prize to it. And Lila's thinking like, okay, like if I get this cash prize, I can really, use this money to pay my parents back. Aiden wants to use it towards his projects, try to like create a business for himself, really to show his parents that he can, not quit at something and that, he's responsible. So they're going back and forth, back and forth. It's kind of an enemies to lovers type of situation. But then at one point, I can't even remember how it happens, but at a certain point, they end up having a conversation where they just kind of like get to know each other a little bit more, and they have like an honest conversation to each other. And we kind of learn that, Matt, their buddy, and her ex is kind of a shitty guy, okay, and that he wasn't actually a good friend to anybody. So they kind of actually become friends throughout. And, Aiden does a lot of like cute little things for Lila throughout the story that makes her feel like she wants to, she starts thinking to herself, oh my goodness, do I have a crush on this guy? Like, how weird would it be if I have a crush on my ex's best friend? Which is like ludicrous, right? I'm actually like so surprised the way that they were written. Like Aiden is written in such a good way that it's almost too mature for them being 17. But at the same time, it's very age appropriate. Like the responses and the answers and the way that they talk to each other is very age appropriate. And in my opinion, Aiden and Lila do get along very well because Aiden and his buddies are all very smart kids. And, some of them create video games. Some of them is more like Aiden is really good at crafting and like sewing and like creating like tools, right? Or like adaptive aids, right? And then I can't remember what the other friend was good at, but they're all really good at just different tech, and like they all kind of have like their own thing that they like geek out about, but still like really cool. And there is an aspect of like LARPing in this book, and I've never done that before. I'm not really into it, but I know people, like I've seen it before, and I actually think it's pretty cool. Like it's, to each their own. If you're somebody who really likes to like get dressed up and reenact things, like that's literally nothing different than what I used to do with my cousins at my grandparents' place when we were kids. Like we used to literally reenact movies, and I just think it's the same thing, right? Only on like a different scale. And so they talk about LARPing a lot and how, they really embrace it and they like really find it cool. So I love that. And one of the other parts in this book is that Lila kind of, as she gets closer to Aiden and his buddies and kind of closer to who she really is, because this is the stuff that she would normally gravitate towards, she has to think about, oh, but I have my other friends who are more popular and who want to go to beach parties and want to go to parties at people's houses and, go on the boat. And she's like, as much as I like this and this is cool and I should be like interested in it, she's like, I'd rather go and spend time with Aiden and his friends and, go LARPing or just doing something else. So you really kind of see the divide and how she chooses who to, be with. And there's a big twist that ends up happening where her ex kind of comes back sooner than we think. And he just starts shit. Like he just messes shit up for everybody and everybody. Like just everybody. And so Lila kind of has to navigate that and figure out how can she, like, what's the best thing that she can do right now. And then how does she navigate, paying her parents back and making sure that, that's okay, even though there's like other stuff that kind of happens where her parents find out about and are like, Lila, like, what did you do here? Like, you're so irresponsible, right? So you learn, like, you see her thought process throughout the entire novel. And I actually thought it was like the perfect length and the story was perfect. It takes place over, I want to say, 2 to 3 months. So it's just the summer. And it's evenly paced. I think the development of the relationships are evenly paced as well. Some of the friends, or some of like Lila's like quote unquote like friends from like the popular group, I could do without. But some of them end up actually being like pretty okay. And I do kind of like that the way it was done, how kind of like spoiler alert, Matt kind of gets ostracized by everybody because of the way that he broke up with Lila. And again, that's in the first chapter, so I'm not going to spoil that because it's in the first chapter, but at the same time, I'm not going to say like what he did and how he did it because you have to read that. Like, it's, for me to be able to go back and read that the first time, I'd be like, wow, right? But everybody didn't forget about it because they're like, well, you ran away to Brazil, but Lila's here, picking up your mess. But again, like I said, I really do like the fact how it was evenly paced. It was very age appropriate. The writing and the language and just like the scenarios were very age appropriate. And I do think that Lila's parents come off a little weird about the way that they want to discipline her. But at the same time, I actually do appreciate the way that they did it because they're teaching their daughter, like, look, you made a commitment, you backed out of it, and it's fine that you backed out of it because you had a good reason. However, there are consequences to your actions, and this is what needs to do. This is what needs to happen, right? And then as the story goes along, there's other situations that come up that Lila gets put in that she would have never had to, like, she doesn't know how to handle it because she's still like a child almost. So she tries to be an adult and try to figure it out. And then in the end, she still takes accountability for all of it, right? So again, just if you want just a very cute and easy read and something that's not too serious and something that isn't like steamy and spicy and just like out of control, and you just want to read something that will get you out of a reading slump, honestly, I would suggest All Last Summer by Stephanie J. Scott because, oh, my Kindle's on low battery. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a really fun read. And I think it's only like, let's see, how many pages is it? Is it like 300? There's 28 chapters. Okay, so do with that information what you will. Can't remember how many, it's not really showing, but yeah, so it's 28 chapters, not a heck of a large book. It's probably only about like 200 to 300 pages. But again, I just thought it was the cutest thing ever. And these are kind of like the books that I would read if it was about teenagers. This is the kind of book that I would read. And I do find it a little like uncomfortable reading more like intimate scenes of kids who are under the age of 18. Yeah, or even 18. I don't know. It doesn't bother me for them to be doing things because it would be between them two. Like, how do I say it? I think there's a certain level of like intimacy that if you're reading it and they're children and they're like under the age of 18, it has to be, like I said, age appropriate. And look, in the With Me series, there's a lot of like topics that are just insane that you're like, okay, this really isn't age appropriate. But the way that the kids handle everything, or the way that the kids talk, the way that the kids interact with each other is actually quite appropriate. And even within the relationships, there might be moments where you know that they're maybe sleeping together, but it's never written. okay? And it's all these like more closed door instances, or they're just like alluded to but not really described. So you read it and you're like, oh, okay, well, it makes sense. They've been together for a while. Like, they're gonna do something, right? And then the same thing with this book. Like, the most that they do is kiss, and I like swoon over it. Like, I'm just like, this is so cute and age appropriate and very expected between you two as people and as characters. So, again, like I said, I love the steamy, give it to me, but I want that between grown adults who know each other, and, it's a different type of interaction. Whereas if these are, children in high school who are 17, okay, and as much as everybody could say, oh, 17, you're an adult. No, you're not an adult, okay? Either by law or you're not an adult at 17. Yes, there could be moments where you might live, a greater life in terms of, a harder life, come to, being responsible for other people, or, everybody has their own thing. But at the end of the day, I do think that 17 is not grown. Like, there's just, no matter how much life you've lived or how many like messed up situations you've been through at 17, like, there's still so many other things in life and as an adult that you're just not going to be aware of. And let's not forget the fact that our brains don't really develop until like 25. So there's that. Anyways, but again, I just really love that book, and I never thought I would actually rave this much about, about students in high school. It really takes me a lot to kind of get to that. But that is that. So again, I am not gonna say that I'm gonna try to post more, because you know what happens with that. We end up not doing it. So we're not gonna talk about that, but what I am gonna say is that thank you for listening and watching, and please like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the fun stuff. And again, whatever whatever comments you want to leave, if there's a topic that you want to discuss or a specific book you want me to discuss, just leave that down in the comments or even on the community page. I do check that often. Even though I'm not posting as much, I will always check whenever I post a video, and I do check it frequently in case, somebody leaves a comment and I don't want to leave them hanging. So again, like, comment, subscribe, share, and I will see you guys next time with another video. Bye.